Hello, everybody. And okay, let's put this Papa chat. If you hear children screaming, it's because my window's open. Okay. First summer like day in Montreal today. It's been mid 70s, and we're going to have 80s pretty much for the rest of the week, even until early next week. That's going to be cool. Feels good. Took some sun, took some outdoor activity, a little bit of time, even though you can't really do much. Stores in Montreal, the ones that have a door on the sidewalk, are allowed to open on Monday. But there's still a lot of really complex things to fix. But, slowly we're getting there, as pretty much everybody around the world. But it felt good. The day today, the sunshine, it was warm, it was summer like. I don't know. And the trees are about 60% done, like 50 to 60% growth of the leaves. And it feels good. It's like green everywhere. It's like, I don't know. It's like the world is restarting or something, a new beginning. So, vodka and cranberry juice, my usual drink, because I haven't found any real good beer nearby. And hello, everybody. This is the Shortwave Radio Show Wednesday edition. And it's at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. 0 hours Universal Time. That's UT Thursday. And for a lot of people watching, it's Thursday. Of course, we have another show on Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, and 20 hours UTC. And of course, we have a beautiful chat room with tons of people that are really cool. And I think the best ever radio group in the world. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's the best radio group in the world. And it shows on the Facebook page because they're the best radio guys in the world on the Facebook page too. Because we do have a Facebook page, official SWL channel, same name as the channel here for YouTube. And I mean, it's a bunch of guys. And when I say guys, because, it's been a while, but I get slammed from time to time saying that, well, guys, that's so masculine and there's some women there. For me, guys includes women. I don't know about you, but for me, guys is not a man thing. It's a bunch of people thing. For me, guys should be rebranded as a bunch of people having fun together. Male, female, alien. I don't care. We're here to have fun with radio. That's all. And so when I say guys, it's everybody, really everybody, honestly. And it's funny because the day that I said that somebody had complained, that I used guys and that she was a woman and she wasn't happy. Well, there's another woman that came up to me and said, well, I don't understand because guys for me includes me. I feel like guys is guys. It's a bunch of people. That's the way I interpret guys. Guys for me is not masculine. It's really a bunch of people having fun about something. So I don't know. It's just funny. And so it's Wednesday. I've been doing a little bit of radio listening tonight. So there's a lot of happening this week. So I've been kind of busy. There's Microsoft Build, and for those of you that know, I have a tech channel. I've been talking about Microsoft Build and stuff like that because it's part of my YouTube life. And I've been posting videos, beginner videos. And today I posted my first video of shortwave, I don't know, stories of shortwave radio or something. I hope you guys like that. You know, it's this afternoon. I took a little bit of time off because it was beautiful. And it was like at some point, you work, but you got to take some time to just like recharge. And that's what I did a little bit. I kind of recharged the batteries before I did this show or arrived for this show. And one of the things that I don't know, today it was like, I don't know if it's the sunshine, the beautiful weather, but also made me think of, actually I was batting a wasp because there's a single wasp that is trying to build a nest in my backyard shed. And there's little holes at different places. So of course the wasp finds every single place. And I'm not the kind of guy that wants to kill the wasp. I don't want to kill a wasp. I mean, they are annoying when there's a lot of them, but without wasps, there would be like tons of other mosquitoes and stuff around. So it's like, I'm okay that you being there. I just don't want you in my shed, especially when there's going to be, 1,000 of them. So you guys would have laughed your head off because I've been like using masking tape, and I put masking tape over every little hole that I see the wasp go through. And I thought I sealed everything, and I'm on the balcony in the back, and I hear this buzz, and I look, and it's like, well, darn it. The wasp actually worked his way with the masking tape to get into one of the holes because I had not put the masking tape large enough. And you look at that and you're like, wow, this is dedication. But, so I used a little heavier side. I used some water. So I threw water every time I saw the wasp and she would go away and so on. I don't know. But, I don't want to kill a wasp. It's not that I want to do. I just want the wasp to do it somewhere else. Go do it in a tree far from people. That's where you should do it, not in my shed. So, anyways, funny story. And it's, when you get down to talking for half an hour about a wasp and your battle with a wasp in a hole, it gives you an idea of how your life is boring at some point. So anyways, listen to Shortwave. I brought out the 2 radios that I was on the balcony today with the St. Gian ATS 909X and the St. Gian, 2 St. Gians, the St. Gian ATS 505P that I have. And we're comparing them together. And of course, it was kind of nice, kind of fun to play that. Listen to a voice of Turkey 22. Came on late, like at 22, 03, 04, 05. Always late, most of the time. It's like I could see somebody running in the transmitter. It's like, oh my God, I forgot to turn on the transmitter for the North American service. I listened to, Louis EA something. I don't know. Every time I hear the call, I ring a bell, but it's the guy in Barcelona that's real powerful that makes contacts with North America. He was on 20 meters, real strong. Somebody actually mentioned him in the Facebook group. And, you're listening to Shortwave and you're watching the world around you, and you kind of realize, everything happening, how the planet is continuing, as we get older, and I mean, year after year, same, trees grow back, and then after summer goes, and it's fall again, and winter and snow. But I don't know. It's one of those days when I don't know if it's the beautiful weather. You're just sitting down and you're like, you know, kind of feels good, kind of happy, you know. So it was fun, and had a little supper outside, and started just slowly prepared the live show here. So anyways, it's kind of fun and kind of interesting to listen to the radio and have fun, and check out the signals out there. Radio New Zealand been really strong for the past 2 days on 13840. Really, I think it was so today we're Wednesday. On Monday night, UT Tuesday, which was about 0300 UTC. One of the strongest signals of Radio New Zealand in a long time. It was really, really amazing, and feels good. And I started doing that, that new thing, that new side of like stories of shortwave, and I've been, of course, doing my scans of QSL cars, like Deutsche Villa. What is there here? Deutsche Villa in the bottom, HCJB in the top, Cameroon, Rye, Italy, and you look at that, and you kind of I can't help but get a little bit nostalgic when I look at the QSL cars from the past. I mean, come on, it's a period of time where it was my prime time of many things. I mean, when we go back in time and we talk about good old days, there's a lot of things together in the good old days. One of the things and I think probably everybody that is interested somewhat in something is like that. I mean, the prime days of shortwave also coincided with my discovery of what shortwave was all about. And I mean, I was a teenager. You're discovering tons of things of life that you don't know, and there's much more to come that you don't know. And one of the things that came to my mind was, well, if I would be in the hobby today, because sometimes it comes to mind, I mean, if I came into the hobby today with a radio like the DX100, maybe I would not have really continued. But if I came in the hobby today with a decent radio, discovering shortwave for the first time, I like to think that I would still be like that first time that I listened to radio, and be amazed that I'm receiving signals from far away, even though I would not have lived through what I've seen of shortwave with tons of signals everywhere. And I don't know. It's one of those days where you reflect upon all sorts of things in your life, and reflect upon what's happening. And I don't know. Maybe it's the spring, and then it's the summer like weather. Summer equaled what? It equaled playing with antennas and trying all sorts of things. And I still remember where I lived when I was young. So I live in a part of Montreal. Montreal is a multi-ethnic city. It has a lot of immigration, so there's a lot of different communities in Montreal, like pretty much every big city, I guess. Pretty sure, like New York City is like that. There's a lot of different communities all around. It's when they come from their country, they want to be together in one place, and they don't want to be in the middle of the forest somewhere. So big cities are the place where everybody goes. Um, and what's interesting is, so when I was young, I still remember when I got my DX100, and then I got the DX302, I would sometimes, take an extension cord and bring the radio outside. Even though it's not a portable radio, the DX302 is a desktop receiver. I would like to bring it, I would bring it outside on a small table, and I would tune from outside, and I'd find a way to tap into my antenna. And the street where I lived was pretty much divided into, um, I would say, 60%. If I look at the time, yeah, about 70% French Canadian, 20% Italian, and the 10% that was left was a mix of different communities. Haitian, there was Greek, there was people from Algeria, which was not a lot at the time, but which today is dominant here. So it was different communities, and it created frictions. Honestly, it would create frictions. I would go to the French language school. There was a English language school at the other corner street, and there were regular fights between French Canadians and English speaking people and Italians, and it was, I mean, I think it's everywhere that when there's too many communities, there's I don't know, some fear or something. But I've always been the guy that found it cool and was happy. My next door neighbor was Italian. One of my best friends. So my best friends from school were French Canadian, but my best friends on the street were Italians and Greek, and that's where I learned my English. Actually, without them, I would not speak English today. I mean, that's the way that it worked, And I still remember bringing out my my DX302, and sometimes the Greek friend was over, and he, I would tell him, I say, I can receive Greek radio here, and he would have Greek radio, but over cable. So there was a multi-ethnic station in Montreal that would have Greek programming at certain times. But I said, no, this is Greek radio directly from Greece. And I would put the station on when he was over. And then they would ID, with their Greek language ID of Voice of Greece and everything. And he would say, wow, you're listening to Greece for real. I said, yeah, I am. And this comes from Greece. This is not local here. And I remember his dad wanting me to go over once to show him shortwave radio, because it was like, what? You mean I can listen to my own country on a radio? And I was very happy. And I remember one day I went over and I showed him, this is how it works and everything. He never bought a radio. I think the price was the big problem. I think having a radio that cost a couple of $100 was too much. But he did find it really cool. And it's funny because sometimes I would go outside, when I was a teenager in the backyard and play. And with his son, we would play ball and stuff. And his dad would come out and look at me and say, oh, still listening to the best radio in the world from Greece, and because everybody's proud of their own country in some way, not everything. I think every country has its dark side, but every country also has something to be proud of. And I would say, yeah, Voice of Greece is one of my regular listening experiences, and my friend, another friend would come over with his sister, Franco and Antonella. And they were, I'm trying to remember my Greek friend's name. And I totally forgot. So, they would come over and say, look, this is Italian radio. And I would put Rai Italy and their Italian language programming. and they wouldn't believe me. They wouldn't believe that it was coming from Italy direct. Uh, I'm not sure they ever believed me that it came from Italy. But I would have them listen to that, and I was proud. I was kind of proud to show them. Look at all the international stations. I listen to stations from your parents' own countries, because I mean, obviously, my friends were born in Canada, but their parents came from Italy, or their parents, my Greek friend, he was born in Canada, but his parents were, from Greece, and it was fun. It was a special time, and I think today, the beautiful sunny day of summer, when everybody goes out, is maybe that's what it brought back to me. Watching old QSL cards and the beautiful day kind of brought me back to that moment in time when I was a teenager. And it was kind of cool. The backyard where I lived. So my parents were very closed. They would not speak to neighbors. The only person that would really speak to the neighbors was me, because I was always outside, and often I would play with their kids. I remember one of my next door neighbors. Yeah, she was Italian also, and she had a deaf girl, and she had no friends, because when you're different, it's always complicated. Especially back then, it was even worse. And I would play. So she would. So I don't know. I was like 15, and her daughter was maybe 6 or 7, and she would look at me, and I'd make these funny faces, and she'd start laughing. And sometimes, to get my attention, she would throw a ball over the fence, and it was a very high fence on that side. So she would throw a ball over the fence, so that I would actually fetch the ball, because it was her way of trying to have me to play with her, basically. And sometimes, I'd play ball. I'd send the ball back, and I'd wait for her to send me the ball, and so on. And I still remember one day, because there was, she was making homemade pizza, and I every time she would make it, I was always like, "Oh man, that smells so good!" Like, I've never smelled a pizza like that before. And I would tell her mom, "Well, your pizza smells so good." And one day she said, "I'm going to make one for you, only for you, and because you are good with my daughter and play with her, and you're fun." And I remember one day she was out, and her daughter could read lips. So when I would talk, I didn't know at first, but then when I would talk, she actually understood what I was saying. And she would go to French school, so if I spoke French, she could read my lips, and she knew what I was saying. So I remember one day she sign languaged her mom, and her mom came out and said, "You know what? My daughter just sign languaged. She says when you two get older, you're gonna get married together." And it was like, it's so funny. I still remember today, and it's funny because I still, I've, when I was a tech guy, I fixed computers, and she was one of my clients, and I saw her daughter maybe, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and there's that special something. She smiled at me, and she asked me how I was going and everything. And there's that link. There's something from that time that's still there. It's like, you're my next door. She was looking at me like, "You're my next door neighbor that I always loved." And I remember when I saw her, and the smile was like so descriptive. And it was like, two persons that for a moment, even though we were older, we kind of for a moment, I was a teenager again, she was a little kid. But Anyways, I'm rambling on here with different stories and stuff. And there was that, and I remember my she was the one, because I had a telescope back then, and my neighbors always wanted to watch the telescope, and I would show them, Saturn, which was always something that may amazed everybody because of the rings and stuff. And she was a next door neighbor that she didn't have a lot of education. Her mom was didn't know a lot about the world around, and she would ask questions that, it's surprising sometimes. You don't think about that. You think everybody is, when we talk about our shortwave, we need to be, sometimes we need to really be at the basics of the basics, because we don't realize how one word, one phrase, or something we talk about is more complex than we thought of, because for a newbie it's too much already. um she would ask me questions about general things in life that I was so amazed that somebody her age would ask such a question, because for me it was like, well, everybody knows that, you know everybody knows that. But anyways, one day she looked at my backyard. She looked at the backyard and she says, "Okay, Joel, I have a question, but you've been putting up wires everywhere." And I had like 3 wires in the backyard, and I don't even think the landlord back then even noticed that I had wires, but she did. And she was like, "So you got wires everywhere, and I saw you the other day climbing the tree in the backyard to put a wire." Because of course, when you're 15 years old, you climb in a tree like this. You don't you don't need help. You just climb. You know, it's something that when you're young, you just do naturally. Would climb on the fence, climb in a tree, go to the highest branch possible, put my wire there. And she had spotted one of that moment when I would put the wire out. And she asked me, she says, "What are you doing?" You know, And it's funny because, with my telescope and everything, I remember she came up to me and she said, "You know, if 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 I know better, I would think that you're trying to talk to aliens." And I brought her home. I said, "Come over. I'm going to show you." And I showed you I showed her my radios, and I showed her, I told her and showed you some QSL cards and said, "Look, I'm listening to the world, and I'm receiving correspondence from different countries." And she was so amazed. She was like, "Oh wow, this is so cool." And she had never heard of anybody that did that. And frankly, there are probably not a lot of people that really would know that also. It was kind of funny. So enough babbling. I've been talking for 30 minutes now. You guys must be bored. Bobby Burgess, nice to have you on board. Have you tried out SDR Uno 1.4? No, I have not. I'll try it tonight. I'll check that out later. Ecadarius. Bobby is in Morgan City, Louisiana. Ecadarius, nice to have you here. Simplio, nice to have you on board. Rob in Phoenix, Arizona. 84 Fahrenheit. Here we've been mid 70s today. It's still it's about 70 right now indoor. Simon Templar, nice to have you here, my friend. Chuck CP Davis, nice to have you on board from the Twin Cities. 45 unit, nice to have you here in Florida. Pretty cool to have you on board. What do we have? Hi, Brawler. Nice to have you here from Arkansas. On Monday, I took my technician and general ham exams, and I got my call sign yesterday. Congratulations, my friend. KI5JAL. Woo! Hope to hear on the bands. Artist Alley Crafter's Kitchen. MLA 30 Plus is going to arrive someday. Yes. I reordered my K180 WLA. Hopefully it's going to go through. I noticed one thing today while looking at that. I always want to So I was looking at the different K180 antennas and noticed that some are shipping them without the battery because the battery is the problem with the shipping. So that's why my first one came back. The battery is a problem. There's a lithium ion battery in it, which is the 18650. And they don't want to ship. And it's weird. You know why? Because XH data and some Texan receivers ship with the battery, and they ship. So maybe because the battery is not in the device, that creates a problem. It's weird. Hekadaris says, the Incredible Hulk, I am not. Oh, man. What is there? Jerry DX. Nice to have you here, Jerry DX. As usual. David, KJ4CMY. Nice to have you here, my friend from Georgia. Rodolfo65. Nice to have you here from New York City. Frank Ireland. Nice to have you on board from Florida. Thanks for your great email that I read. And I'm happy to be here and do all of this. Thank you so much. Joe Sambranuas from Brazil. Nice to have you on board. Brian Penny from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Nice to have you on board. Eric Cottrell, bonjour. Work is done for today. Will be great weather through Monday here in Boston. Same here in Montreal. We're going to be in the 80s. It's going to be really, really cool. I'm thinking of possibly doing some radio in the park tomorrow, so I'm going to check that out for sure. Roberto Rojas, nice to have you on board, my friend. Can you get beer delivered in Quebec? Only from Dépanneur, yes. So we can actually have it from Dépanneur, but not from a brewery from outside. So here in Quebec, alcohol is provincially. What is that weird sound? There's some kind of mosquito or big mosquito or something that came in. So I'm just gonna go check, guys, because there's like this big noise, and I left the door open, not the door, but the window open, and because the window is not screened because of my antennas, I'm just gonna go see what is happening here. So I don't know. Didn't see anything. Maybe it went back outside. If you see me attacked by a huge insect, well, you'll know that it was still inside. So I can't put the screen because what's happening is my window, because of the side that I put the antennas coming in, the screen isn't there. So anyways, we can't get alcohol from another province or country without like all sorts of clearance because it's super complicated. Yeah, it's still there. What the hell? I'm gonna check that out. Well, I'm hearing it because now I know where it is when I hear it. Now I know where it is. Won't be long, guys. Okay, I'm back. Well, she's still in. It's like a big wasp or something. We'll try to manage the show with that big beast in here. So, what else do we have? Bradley, bring on. Nice to have you here from Colorado. Bobby Burgess. Yes, we have young ladies in the group. Absolutely. And Rob says, good people and great posts in the Facebook group. Rifleman 336 and 8 UCN. Nice to have you on board from stormy Southwest Ohio. Oh, really? Wow, it's super beautiful here. What else do we have? Eric Cottrell, this is one of the shortcomings of English. So David says, dictionary I saw years ago said that the expression you guys now means both male and female. Oh, that's good, because that's what it means for me. BIGR 7769. Why I don't talk about scanners, because this is about shortwave. This is a really shortwave group, and scanner radios are for the VHF, UHF channel, so we don't talk much about those. RI, nice to have you here. Check out the buzzer, 204625. Check it out. Anything about the buzzer? Nope, no buzzer tonight. Somebody posted in the shortwave group the buzzer and some French language talk over it. Pretty cool. Simply, I like to watch videos about history of shortwave broadcast transmitters and the stories behind broadcasters. Yeah, that is really cool. Dan V, nice to have you here, my friend from Ohio, and 8WJZ. But here it happens all the time, RI. I hear not necessarily on the frequency, but often I will hear some talk near the buzzer, like, 1 or 2 kilohertz near it. What the hell is that? Nothing like having a buzzing of a big beast somewhere and not really sure where it is all the time. Simply, right now my Ratty Wow speaker is full of wee wow woo. Okay. 45 units says, have you heard they're going to retrieve the radio from the Titanic. They got the okay from the courts. If it goes into some museum somewhere, why not? I mean, you can pretty much believe it's the first transmitter that ever transmitted a distress call. Jose Oriberto Almonte, nice to have you here from Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. Yeah, that looks like a murder hornet at the size that it is in my lamp there, but no, it's looks like a wasp, a big wasp that came in because of the lights. So it's kind of stuck there where the lights are. So I'm going to have to find a way to tell that friend to go back out. Or it's the wasp from the back that is now back here to murder me tonight. Oh, man. David says we all need to get out more. Yep. Philippe Tessier. Bonjour et bienvenue. Do you ever listen to 4625? And if so, are you using LSB, USB? Here in Gatineau, last time I heard it was in October last year. I don't hear it since then. Yeah, the buzzer 4625 is an upper sideband USB. And it's usually more of a winter thing. Because at this time, St. Petersburg is pretty north. So at this time, 4625 is a harder one to get by in receiving the signal. So it's usually, I would say that usually month of May, June, July are not the months I'll hear the buzzer in general. Though it's going to be more like in early spring or when the fall comes through in wintertime. I heard it almost every time last winter. Actually, I would try it. But summer is not the good time for the buzzer, and it's not there tonight right now. But it's upper sideband. The buzzer is a upper sideband signal. Hunter's Alley Crafter's Kitchen. Nice to have you here. Last night heard TRS station from New Jersey, here in Massachusetts. Wow. Erica Trell. Next month it will be Korean squirrels with flamethrowers. Hirofumi Yokoyama, good morning in Japan. Nice to have you on board. Of the dawn, all's quiet. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? Lurburn, did you Google that T-shirt before you bought it? I Googled Google and broke the internet. Oh, man. Rob, it is good to just sit outside or at the park. It's good to get outside. Yep, absolutely. Radioactive, nice to have you on board from Oregon. Oregon. He's tired of me pronouncing Oregon. Well, it's Oregon in my heart. XN80X, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. Eric Cottrell says there has been some VHF UHF openings in the morning here in Massachusetts. Cool. Super Bowl, a little busy. Let's try it out. 27025. Anything here? Anything here? Nothing much. Nothing much. Simplio has requested a QSL card from WRMI last year and arrived a few weeks ago. Cool. Butterbean, nice to have you on board. Yeah. I think it's our, I don't know. Well, it's always been like that for a lot of people, but is it worse today? Do you think today's generation is more I want it now than we were 20, 30, 40 years ago? Mr. Paul is doing absolutely well. He's been going out and in, and he's happy that there's no more snow because he's going out and going to the different neighbors' backyards. So he's a happy cat. Radioactive says Radio New Zealand. Nice. I'm 13840. David says, I used to live in the Atlanta area. There's a lot of immigrants there. I do like the ethnic diversity. It's much like listening to shortwave without a radio. Yep, absolutely. I've always been one of those that doesn't really mind that there's all that mix of ethnicity. I mean, I sometimes some of the guys, some of the people I would go to school with at high school were kind of um I wonder, there were a couple picking on me just because I had Italian friends and they didn't like it. It was like, you feel like grow up. What the hell do you care? Kim Ahane, nice to have you on board from Yokohama, Japan. Pretty cool. Joe Rotman, nice to have you here from the Chicago area. Mongoose, nice to have you on board. Cajun French down here. Nice to have you here from the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Wannabe, why is Seattle so bad on shortwave reception? Well, the West Coast. Signals in the West Coast tend to be a little weaker than on the East Coast, unfortunately, because you're further away from, here in the East Coast, I always complain that a lot of transmissions and a lot of stations don't broadcast to North America. But one of the things about that also is the fact that a lot of stations that broadcast to North America, I mean, Europe is closer to the East Coast than the West Coast. So signals from Europe tend to be weaker on the West Coast. So actually, we were talking about that at one point where, you guys have a lot of signals from Asia coming in easily compared to me, where I get, European stations more than the West Coast. So there's that, and there's also make sure that the level of noise where you live is not too high. Bring your radio to the park or to a place where it's far from houses. You might be surprised at how many signals you actually get. Chuck Yunkin, nice to have you on board, my friend. What else do we have? Glenn Blum, propagation is pretty good right now into the US. That's been good in general in the past week or two, honestly. Not bad. Crittenden Tuttle 4, KJ7NUX. Nice to have you here. And Glenn is from Central Texas. I have some weak activity on channel 6, 27025 Super Bowl, so there's some slight sporadic heat probably happening right now. Jane Dagger, nice to have you on board. Nope, I'm wearing the same shirt. Didn't even clean it. And didn't even shower. You guys don't want to know that. No, it's you know what? The funniest part, Jane Dagger, is that I took this shirt the way I choose my shirts is I go and pick one, and that's the one I'm wearing. And at some point today, I did think about that because I was like, wear this shirt in one of the last live show or something. Rick Satter, nice to have you here from Milwaukee. Nice to have you here. Let's go down. And try to catch up a little bit more. MDK2, Matt, nice to have you here from Colorado. Hello, Cindy. Nice to have you here. Eric Cottrell with SDR Uno 1.4. There seems to be the first support for plugins, but likely SDR Play designed ones. So they will be plugins from SDR Play. Well, that's good. A good thing. I mean, let's expand the capabilities of these devices and have plugins that will do tons of things. This is going to make it even more appealing and more interesting. Mika Dalmage, nice to have you here from Sherwood Park, Alberta. And just waiting for the 2 days of rain predicted. Tom DXer, nice to have you here from the Hudson Valley, New York. Eric Child, they make me confused about the amount of lithium in any battery they can ship. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Gaëtan Bellil, salut de Sainte-Sophie. C'est un grand plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. Nice to have you here. Graham Taplin says, my K180 WLA shipped with the battery inside. Okay. And, some ship it without the battery, and they tell you in the instructions, they tell you in the description, you'll need to find the battery because we're shipping it without the battery because the shipping doesn't work with the battery. So, I don't know. I guess it depends who's the shipper and all of that. Shelly, nice to have you here from Pennsylvania. John Doe, nice to have you on board. Mickey Dalmich, Killer Wasps has arrived. But you know what? It's so funny because, it's not that it's big, but man, these little beasts, they scare the hell out of you. And I think it's still stuck up there in the lamp. So it's either being fried to death by a 100 watt bulb or, actually what I tried to do was so I have a broom here. I tried to kind of mash it in the broom a little bit so I have time to actually send it back outside by the window, which was impossible because when I did that, I saw the lamp move and I was like, oh, okay, I have two choices. A lamp that will crash to the ground and break in 1,000 pieces, or try to, without being stung, get a wasp outside. So I thought, okay, I'm going to leave it there. CJ from Albany, Oregon. Let's say, have you here? And can't wait to get his Xiegu G90 on the air next week. Rifleman 336, it's the Hornet coming to talk to you about the tape you put on your shed. Erica Child, then there was a scream and never came back. Oh, God. It's just funny. Frank Ireland, the tracking on my MLA-30 Plus finally updated after showing cleared U.S. Customs. Today, it updated saying it was in Atlanta. I'm thinking about getting a tripod to put on it. Yeah. Or you can use a broomstick, Currents IT guy, nice to have you here. Just trying out the new MLA-30 Plus for the first time. Woohoo! Hope you like it. Jane Dagger, Jill was carried out today by a killer hornet. Oh, it woke up again. I could see it. It's moving around in the lamp. So I don't know. I'm going to check it out after the show. It's going to stay there. It seems to be stuck in that place right now. Frank Ireland, preferably a rotatable tripod. Any recommendations? The MLA-30 antenna will be used in my... one thing I'm just going to say, though. For shortwave signals, the rotatable side of it is not necessarily useful because there's not a lot of difference. There's a lot of difference if you do medium wave. On medium wave, it would be super useful, that's for sure. Long wave also. Ronald Zucala, nice to have you on board. And he's listening with his Xiegu G90 transceiver. Shortwave tips have brought back many things I forgot. So, and you know what? The interesting thing about this is that even if we've been, shortwave or AM radio operators, or we've been doing this for ages, there are things we forget. There are things we don't really know. We all have that something that we don't know in our hobby. We never really caught on. And when there's, that beginner series is there to try to help out with that. Current IT guys, seems like Radio Romania 7375 coming in really well here in the Western Pennsylvania. Yep, 7375 Radio Romania English. It's going to be in French in about 6 minutes. Tom the Extra says, hope it's not one of those murder hornets. If it would be one of those, all I could say is I would not be back on camera. I would have run out, closed the door, and thought of, okay, what do I do next? John Doe, question for Jill. Are 1 to 30 megahertz sloper antenna worth $50? Is it advertised as being tuned to all the bands? How much better is a sloper compared to a long wire? Don't spend $50 on a sloper. A sloper is a long wire. It's just that it's an angle. It probably comes maybe with a maybe it comes with a 9-to-1 balun or unon. You know, it's not worth $50. It's a piece of wire. Okay, it's simple as that. What I would say is just put out a wire. It's not going to be better. The sloper and the wire are not going to be better. And if you have if you use a transceiver, a lot of transceivers have tuners today, so it's going to tune anyways. It's going to tune itself to the antenna to resonate. So you know, it doesn't matter. But don't pay $50 for that. It's not worth it. It's really just a piece of wire. Rick Satter, I'm using, because of my tech channel, I'm using I have actually 1, 2, 3, 4 Edge browsers installed on the laptop here. The beta version, the developer version, the Canary version, and the stable version. So I'm all edged up. Bobby Burgess should have got some raid. Yeah, I don't like killing little beasts like that. I made friends with wasps. I'm not sure that's the kind of friend I want to have. Oh, well, the window's open. The problem is it's dark. What made it come in is the light. And because it's dark outside, it's stuck in now because it's full of light because I'm doing a live show. And so, but, you know, the best I would like is for it to go back out for sure, you know. What else do we have? Jim F from Rhode Island. Nice to have you here. Yeah, something like that, current IT guy. Googling Google is like dividing by 0. Oh, man. Yeah, the IT crowd. If you put Google into Google, you'll break the internet. I especially like in the IT crowd when they have her bring over. She has to do she's the employee of the month, and she has to do something, a presentation, and she brings that little box with that blinking light. And they made her believe that that's the internet. It's an amazing episode. Oh, God. Yeah, Paul is really happy and well. Hey, Trucker Daddy. Nice to have you here, John, from Sherbrooke. Sherbrooke always reminds me of my young years when we would go out and see my parents would go out and get drunk with my uncle Gerard, and I would play with the trains. He had like this huge train. It was like a huge village, a train. It was crazy. And so every time we would go there, it was like, I'm happy. Oh, we're going to Uncle Jerry. I'm gonna play with trains. No problem. We'll spend a week there if you want. Philippe Tessier, what about the squeaky wheel and the pip or number stations? Well, number stations I hear all the time. Squeaky wheel and pip, I've never received here. Never received here. I know that they are in like the 80-meter band or something. I never received here. When number stations, I receive a lot of those. I should be I should be tuning more of the number stations. I haven't done that with the Priam website. Ram seems every generation wants it now. Yeah, maybe it's like you know what, the one and now thing. I think maybe is more of a when you're a young kid, you want it now. I'm not sure it's worse today than it was in the past. You know. Simplio says before Amazon and internet, we could just shop at Radio Shack and get it now. These days, it's funnier because get it now is more frustrating because you buy it now and don't have it for a week. I never thought of that, but it is funny. Yeah. William Moser, nice to have you here. Glenn Zeckman, nice to have you on board, my friend. Mark Stevens from the Carolina Mountains. I like the way that it says Carolina Mountains. I want to be there and see it, you know. Oh, man. Bobby Burgess, a nice the MLA reorientation of the MLA later, and it really sucks the airwaves. Hey, Fastload in Montreal. Nice to have you here. Artist Ali Crafter's Kitchen. Just bought an Icon World clock to go with my R71A. These are expensive clocks. I mean, it's just crazy, you know? Fastload watching in the gazebo with a Samsung tablet. Cool. It is a beautiful night out. One of the first ones, actually, that's really nice enough to stay out. Jim Ritchie, nice to have you here. Is there any way to hook up a digital reading to an analog radio? Technically, yeah. There's by using a tap in the IF. There has been, I've seen um, what is technically more of a frequency counter that can tell you the frequency of an analog radio. But for the most part, it's not really worth it. XNADXer watching in the kitchen on my laptop computer with the Ethon Grundig Edition Field BT radio. Cool. Current ID guy, I'm deadly allergic, so if they get in, then one way. Believe it or not, I've never been stung in my whole life by a bee or a wasp, which means if I would be allergic, I don't know because it never happened. So, you know, if it stings me and I get this big in front of the camera and die, you guys will have the confirmation that I was allergic and I didn't know about it. But no, I know it's impressive. A friend of mine from a long time ago was allergic to seafood, and it was at a restaurant. And he took a bite of some chicken or something, and it probably touched seafood in the kitchen. I can tell you, it's very impressive what happens next. And I do not wish to live through that ever again in my life. James Farley, nice to have you here from New Jersey. RJA Dakota, nice to have you here. Larry Stevens, nice to have you on board from Newark, Ohio. Ray Carlisi, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Rifleman 336, yeah, but the Hornet probably won't leave. Instead, it will like your radios and it will make it play the instrumental tune, this thing. You start hearing that in my office, the radios are being tuned around. It's murder hornets are listening to shortwave. Oh man. Jane Dagger says the MLA is one state over and predicted to be delivered in 13 days. Does Shannon Vomit ever sleep? I believe depending on the frequency they are on, they have a revolving schedule. But, computer voices, they can be there 24 hours. Gordon Lyle, nice to have you here from Southern Illinois. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I could see the body of the wasp and it stopped moving. I'm almost wondering if it didn't get fried by the 100 watt bulb in the lamp above. Because it's really not moving anymore. Which is not what I wanted, but, it's life. You can't save every creature on the planet. Simply, what good local hardware retail chain will sell some 16 gauge insulated wire? Go to a hardware store, any hardware store. Go to the, electrical, everything that has to do with, your house's electricity. They have pretty much all the wire you need there. We're lucky here. I live 20-minute walking distance, 30-minute walking distance from a store where I get all the wire I could dream of. Raining in Tennessee, says Glenn. Yeah, we would need to do a show in your gazebo someday. Yeah. Things are complicated sometimes, fast load. Matt, the DX300 that I have has a digital readout, but it tunes analog. Yeah. Receivers of the time, a lot of them were analog radios with digital frequency counters. I don't, they weren't PLL driven radios. You could see when the era of PLL driven radios arrived. It went from radios with digital displays that drift to radios with digital displays that are very stable in frequency. Oh, man. Mark Stevens, raining here in the mountains, still a gorgeous place to be. When I was young adult and I would go out north to my father's shack, there's mountains all around. And I don't know if it's how beautiful it is there, but it's probably the place in the whole world where when it's raining, I just didn't care. It was like beautiful to watch and see the lake and the mountains and, I don't know. There's something different there. When it rains in the city, it's like, oh, damn, it's raining. When it rains over there in the middle of the mountains and nature, it's like, it's raining. That's all. I don't care. I don't know. It's different. Yeah, like Arthur's Alicrater's Kitchen says, those frequency counters with the 455 kilohertz offset from China. It's more of a novelty thing. Am I dreaming or I remember seeing, could it be MFJ? Or there was a company that made a frequency display that you did not have to open the radio. You would put the radio near it, and it was capable of telling you what frequency you were tuning. I recall seeing that someday, long time ago. Hellzabub007, nice to have you on board from Greenville, South Carolina, where signals from Voice of America and Radio Marti must be real strong. Mark Stevens, fly swatter, and bee swatter alive and active out here. Shelly, it's a trap. The wasp wants you to think it's harmless. Yeah, I know. And I don't really feel like going there and disturbing its sleep. Philippe Tessier, you have time. You have time. Go and listen to the strange sound I heard on YouTube. Just type "strange sound shortwave" I heard on 6140. Okay, we're gonna do it. Not gonna do it live, but we'll check it out. There's a lot of strange stuff. Shortwave is the number one place for tons and tons of weird stuff. I can tell you that. VT Radio, nice to have you on board, Paul AA1SU from Essex Junction, Vermont. G-Dog, I'm in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America, and cheers with my vodka cranberry juice mix. Maybe after this, I'll have the courage to fight the wasp. Rifleman 336 says data bugs will also tune in old radio shows. Their favorite, who knows? The Hornet knows. Yeah, RJ Dakota says found all the wire needed at the local hardware store. And I think in the electricity department, they probably have all of that. Glenn is listening to the show on the deck. Cool. RJ Dakota, RF 2200 as an analog radio, but it has PLL circuit. William Moser, the Texan DR 920. What's the difference between the 920 and the 920C? I think it's just the color. I think 920 and 920C, 920 is black. 920C means charcoal. There's no difference on the radio itself. It's the color of the casing. That is the difference. John McClure, nice to have you here. What is Ali Crafter's Kitchen? Jill, I believe Drake made such an easy add-on display, maybe for the SPR4. Yeah, I remember seeing something like that. Mike Stevens says, much the same here. Beautiful all seasons. Oh, yeah. I mean, when we would go up north there, winter was beautiful. Summer was beautiful. Raining weather was beautiful. It was always beautiful. I don't know if it's the scenery that changes all of this. But man, I didn't care. It was, I remember one night we went up there for a weekend, me and two friends. We had decided, hey, let's do a super cool weekend. Super cool weekend happened to be 3 days of rain. And I remember, so, we had, played cards and stuff like that. But I remember, I think it was the Saturday night. It was raining, not too heavily. And I said, you know what, guys? I got ponchos. How about we go for a walk in the rain in the forest and follow the lake? And one of the guys said, oh, cool. The other one said, oh, I'm not sure. I said, put the poncho on. You'll see. It's different. Walking in the rain here is not like, it's different. And we went through and we actually went all around because the lake wasn't that big. It would take maybe 2 hours to do the full run around the lake. So we did the full run around the lake. We got back in the shack, and the guy that wasn't sure said, you know what, thanks. This was kind of cool. and it was a lot of fun. I said, yeah, it's not the same here. It's not like walking in the rain in the city. Walking in the rain in the city is like, you know what? I'm gonna go home and play video games. Walking in the rain in a beautiful forest, lake, whatever. It's like, yeah, it's nature. You're part of. I don't know. It feels weird. We're kind of part of something. Here in the city, we're part of nothing. It's like streets with asphalt and whatever. It's windy and rainy. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna stay home today. There, it's like windy and rainy. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go out and do something. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, but uh, Keegan says there's a station in Brownsville, Pennsylvania, with the call sign WASP on 11:30 on the 68 from 68 to 2012. Oh wow. I remember seeing somebody with kind of having an ID. So it's still alive because I'm now seeing it moving again. I think it's trying to move itself where it's the least warm of that 100-watt bulb. RJ Dakotas, it seems like in the past I have seen such a readout probably at Radio Shack. I don't know where. I thought maybe it could be MFJ, but I remember seeing something like that. Brownsville, Pennsylvania. G-Dog, is the Teodio V111 Appy radio that bad or the receiver? I ordered one on eBay for $10 before, and I found your video on it, and you weren't a fan of it. The V111 and V115 and Happy radios are rather noisy. The internal circuit is very noisy, which is making it kind of difficult to really tune around well, honestly. I don't know. You'll see. RJ Dakota, the forest is better than kicking your asphalt. Yeah, I would guess. Maybe it's, I sometimes I also thought about being a city guy, which meant that, 80-90% of my time is in a big city. When you're outside of the big city, you're, it's different. So it's like, you're happy to be there. Jeff King, nice to have you here, my friend. Have you guys seen, for those that have seen my post, for those that haven't seen it, it was so funny because I'm outside, I'm having a drink, and I'm tuning China Radio International today. And they're having, they have their Chinese lessons. One of today's phrase. One of today's phrase is something like the quality of this product is no good. And I'm sitting and I'm taking a sip of my drink and I almost spit it out because I wanted to laugh. I was like, wow, even Chinese lessons are saying that there's Chinese crap out there. That was so funny. I mean, how can you not laugh at that? It's like, okay, they're giving us the Chinese way of saying your product is crap. Oh man, that was so funny today. Your product is no good. I'm gonna learn it and pronounce it correctly. Simon Templar is listening to the Maritime Mobile Service Nest on 14300 upper sideband. Let's try it out here. Don't forget, guys, in 10 days, 11 days from now, hurricane season already. I'm hearing some I mean, here's some station on 14300. This is a daily net. I believe it's every day, right? The mobile service net for a maritime mobile, 14300. And so hurricane season is starting in a little more than 10, 11 days. So don't forget, the maritime mobile service net is one of the nets that is interesting to listen to when that starts, because they often have boats ashore and boats on the ocean that will give reports of the weather. Also 14325 7268 for the hurricane watch net, which is always something to listen to when something happens. Garden Lyle, has anyone tried a new version of SDR? No, I'll try it after the show. Should I install it while the show is going on? Can you? I'm going to check it out. Can you ask the software to update itself while it's there? No. Okay, let's do this, guys. I'm going to do it. Now I'll need to unplug my SDR device, because you got to unplug it before updating. And we're going to go to Google and SDR Uno. Download. If porn pops up, it's not my fault. Okay, SDR Uno download. Let's check it out. I am not a robot. When did this happen, that humans had to tell computers that we're not robots somehow? Okay. And here we go. It's downloaded. Downloaded for Windows. Official version, or it's a what am I getting? Okay, let me go back here. Okay, the wasp is now complaining again. So let me just go back, install. What else we have? Yeah, I know, man. I'd like to take you outside, but I'm not gonna do it now. So, anything else? Anything else here? Grand Lyle bands are loaded tonight from 4 megahertz to almost 16. Cool. We got. Oh man, Jeff King, National Yellow Radio Day is on June 1st. Kicks off the hurricane season. Huh. Yes, everyone should have a radio for emergencies for sure. Tony Turtle, let's have you here. Go to the Crifter's Kitchen. Watch a PBS American Experience documentary. Mr. Tornado invented, Dr. Fujita invented the F system for tornado magnitude. That must be quite interesting. A blue screen of that. Would be hilarious if porn popped up. Kimberly, K6YY Hell, nice to have you here. Robert Glazier, nice to have you here. So, okay, let me just. Doesn't SDR play usually? Did I turn it off? So, can anybody tell me just for a second here if let's SDR Uno 1.4. I want that. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Okay. Okay, they are at 1.42, 1.43. Update on RSPDX available. Okay, what is that? Okay. I would guess it's not an official version because there's no download link. Is it an official version? Because here I don't see the 1.4 version. I don't really feel like installing a. When I download it, downloads 1.22, Bobby. Oh no, it's of course, it's not plugged in. Why is there no RSP device? Because it has to be plugged in first. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go. Okay, let's go back here. Let's go back to SDR Play. As long as SDR Play is not matched with a okay, it's the release candidate, so it's not an official version. It's a release candidate. So okay. Yeah. What the fuck is it? Man. In the download section, yes, is the Arduino manual, blah, blah, blah. Is your console, plugins, your DSB plugin. Okay, DSB dump. Yeah. Okay. Is the Arduino all RSPs? So if I go here, it brings me to, 1.33. Yeah, I'm not going to install it, okay, guys, because it's a release candidate, which is not a official version. And since this is my main SDR machine, I don't really want to have a test version on it. So we'll leave it at that for now until it's officially released. For now. So we'll keep it like that. So I'm going to install the stable version for sure. What else do we have? Don't worry, Bobby. I have all the help I need with myself. Yeah. 1.4 release candidate. It's a beta version. I don't want to install that. Not until it's ready. V3KRP Fast Eddie, nice to have you here from Ontario, Canada. Mickey Dalmage was 100 years ago tonight that the first radio program in Canada was broadcast between Montreal and Ottawa. The Montreal station that sent the first broadcast to Ottawa, known at the time as XWA. Oh, really? Today? Well, let's cheers to that. 100 years. Can you imagine, guys? 100 years ago. I mean, when you hear that type of news, you're kind of, you understand why some people think radio is an old hobby or an old thing that people don't use. And hey, Buzz Gold, nice to have you here. So, man, 100 years, pretty crazy. B3KRP 6-meter hopping to the West Coast. Wow. Let me check that. Let's go to 50.76. Just out of curiosity here, because I do have my VHF antenna plugged on the RSPDX. Gordon Lyle says, unless they fixed it, you can't tune by clicking on the waterfall in this test version. Nah, I don't want that. I'm going to stay with the good. I want to stay with the stable version. Mark Stevens, never experienced an install of anything with 93 observers. Brave live stream. Yeah, I think we did it. I remember installing a couple of digital mode decoders while we were doing the live show. No, but I don't want to have, this is my main SDR machine. That said, it's kind of funny because it is also my insider machine. So this runs Windows 10 future version. That is a test version. But I will keep it like that. And you know what? Unless it has really amazing new features, something that I'd like, and I know the SDR guys are watching my videos all the time because every time I say something wrong, I get a message from SDR Play. Can you guys try to do a scanning feature for the VHF UHF that is faster and better than what is available right now? That'd be nice. That would be very nice. I would also ask, so there are two ways of doing a software. You can have your own plugins, and it's okay if you have a choice of them. But when you don't have a choice, I don't like SDR Sharp. I hate that software to die for. But SDR Sharp has all the plugins for all the cool stuff. Why don't you let the SDR Sharp plugins be compatible in SDR Uno? That'd be nice also. Because you can do a lot. Yeah, I mean, the SDR Sharp plugins let you do P25 and all sorts of trunking and all sorts of things. It'd be nice to have that in SDR Uno. I gotta say, the devices are amazing. I still stand by the fact that SDR Play devices are amazing. The RSP1A is the best entry level. I don't care what anybody thinks. I've used enough SDR stuff, including the crappy RTL SDR V3, to understand one thing. The RSP1A is the best entry-level SDR you can get. After that, okay, I'm not going to go there, okay? Because when you get to the price of the RSPDX, there's the HF's, the AirSpy HF Discovery. Seems to be interesting. I don't have one. I'm not going to talk, and I'm not going to compare. I'm going to just watch. But it seems to be pretty good, for sure. But if you have one SDR to buy, only one, and want to make sure that it does what it does correctly, and that it doesn't do crap with images and all sorts of crappy things. The SDR Play RSP1A, I mean, it's 119 US bucks. For that price, you're getting a amazing entry-level software-defined receiver. Okay? We'll leave it there. And I do not wish to compare the RSPDX with anything else because I'm not there. I love mine. I'm happy to have it. I thank you, SDR Play, for giving me one to play with, because I know you guys sell a lot of these devices because I talk really well about it. But what I understand is below 100 bucks, you know, if you buy an RTL SDR V3 for only the purpose of VHF, UHF, yeah, okay. It's decent. It's decent. Receive satellites with it and stuff like that. You know, I've been using it a lot in the past couple of weeks because I want to give it a chance. You know, sometimes you got to give it a second chance to stuff that you talk about. And I'm not a guy that wants to be stuck in the ideas of this is crap and that's it. I want to be the guy that, you know, can construct, and somebody just tell me, you know what? I've had some people tell me, you know, you haven't given a good enough chance to the RTL SDR V3. And I'm open to that. I am here to help you guys choose between what's the best stuff around. My opinion. And it's always my opinion. But I understand that my opinion also will make you buy something. And that's why I don't want to say something is good when it's not. You know, I've been using the so for the past week and a half, I've been using, you guys have seen, I've posted a couple of videos on the YouTube channel. I've been using the RTL SDR V3 on shortwave with the W6 LVP loop. You know, I'm getting signals, that's for sure. I'm getting stuff. You guys seen my post of 40 meter band scanned. Last night I was listening to the maritime weather on 2 megahertz, 2749 from Nova Scotia. The problem is it's a mix of signals and a mix of tons of spurious signals. And that makes it crap out at some point. Because there's too many signals. You know, it comes to, you know, somebody once came up to me and said, you know, I have an RSP1A and a RTL SDR V3, and my RTL SDR V3 has 3 times more signals all across than my RSP1A. And I told him, be careful, because a lot of signals on the RTL SDR V3 are spurious images or whatever of other signals. And one day he came up to me and says, look at this strong station on 8455. And I said, there's no broadcast, international broadcast on 8455. That's an image. That's an image. And I looked at his video and I said, that's an image of what's on, you know, the 49 meter band. And that's when I understood that, okay, you know, you think you have a great device because there's a lot of signals, but yeah, no, it's not exactly that. You've got a lot of spurious signals. I mean, yes, it was getting some of the signals that were cool, but that's not a great radio if you, oh my God. Okay. Sorry, guys. The wasp is on my camera, by the way. This is very interesting. And I am a little, what should I do? Let me just, I'm in survival mode here. Let me check. Do I have something? Yeah, I know. Go away. Oh, man. Okay, now he's in the lamp over there. That would be the best time, though. I could, oh, man. You guys are going to have me really paranoid here. Let me just do something here. So it's there. What could I do? Do I have a... I'd like to just put it in something and throw it out. So sorry, guys. It's an unusual stream. I know. So anyways, for the price, the RSP1A is the best entry level. Kamahane, Wasp Sting on live stream, first ever. No, I don't want to kill it, Jane Dagger. I just want to put it back out to its nature environment. That's all. I got a box there. You guys must be laughing your head off. Look at that big guy. Scared of Wasp. What could I do to shove it off the place? I don't know what to do. Milliam Phillips 361 Death Hornet. I'll be the first victim in North America. What else do we have here? Something that I'm just gonna go here. Kim Mahane likes his RSPDX. I love my RSPDX. It's an amazing device with the antenna connectors and everything. I got 3 antennas on it right now. So A is my VHF UHF antenna. B is my MLA30 plus. No, MLA30. C is my MLA30 plus. Really, really nice to have. Crafter's Kitchen. Do SDR receivers work on a super heterodyne system? If so, single, dual, triple conversion. They probably do. But like all receivers, they are not all capable of, like, the SDR play, or the SDR RTL SDR V3 is obviously of the basic design, and it has images everywhere. Raffle Man 336, an old issue of monitoring times to kill it with. No, I'm going to use popular communications. I don't care about killing it with the popular communications, but not in monitoring times. No, Jane Dagger. Paul the cat looks at that and says, "No way, I'm going." Yeah, that's what I want to do, Keegan. Get it in a jar or a glass or something. I need to get something. So you know what, guys? Let's do a let's do a put the wasp outside break time, and I'll be able to fill this up, and we'll continue the show. And hopefully, after I come back, I'm still alive, and I'm and the wasp is outside where it belongs. So how about that, guys? Is that a good deal? You just gotta be it's just gonna be that moment. Okay. So throw a shoe at it. Yeah, I'm gonna break the lamp. A glass lamp. That's not a good. That's really not a good. Turn your lights out and stand out the window. I can't stand out the window. There's no balcony here. If I stand out the window, I'm dropping 3 floors down. Mark Stevens says this is entertaining. Oh man. Well, that's the thing, Matt. That's what it wants to do. It's just go back out. But the problem is it's dark outside and it's attracted to my lights. So it's not going back out right now, So I will go and try. If you hear screaming, if you hear half of the house brought down, you know what? You will see that it didn't work. And hope you send flowers to my funeral, okay? So I am going to fill this soon and find a way to bring that wasp outside in the next 2 minutes. What could we put as a background filler? We will be listening to these soothing sounds, the soothing sounds of Shannon Vomit on 5505. If you hear me scream,
Wind variable 3 knots. Tab OK. Forecast maximum temperature 26 on the 21st at 1500 Zulu. Forecast minimum temperature 9 on the 21st at 0400 Zulu. Forecast minimum temperature 10 on the 22nd at 0400 Zulu. Coming between 0900 and 1100. Wind 050 degrees 6 knots. Tempo from 1000 until 1700. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. Cloud 2 at 5,000 feet. Becoming between 1500 and 1800. Wind variable 3 knots. Tab OK. Geneva forecast. Geneva valid from the 21st at 0000 until the 22nd at 0600. Wind variable 3 knots. Tab OK. Forecast maximum temperature 26 on the 21st at 1500 Zulu. Forecast minimum temperature 12 on the 21st at 0500 Zulu. Forecast minimum temperature 11 on the 22nd at 0500 Zulu. Becoming between 0600 and 0800. Wind 050 degrees 10 knots. Becoming between 1000 and 1200. Visibility 10 kilometers or more. Cloud 2 at 4,000 feet. Becoming between 1800 and 2000. Wind variable 3 knots. Tab OK. Net report. Zurich, net report. Zurich at 0120 Zulu. Wind calm. Tab OK. Temperature 11. Dew point 9. Fahrenheit 1021. No 6. Geneva, net report. Geneva at 0120 Zulu. Operating observation. Wind calm. Tab OK. Temperature 14. Dew point 10. Fahrenheit 1019. No 6. Paris Charles de Gaulle. Net report. Paris Charles de Gaulle at 0130 Zulu. Automatic observation. Wind 060 degrees 6 knots. Tab OK. Temperature 17. Dew point 12. Fahrenheit 1020. No 6. Paris Orly. Net report. Paris Orly at 0130 Zulu. Automated observation. Wind calm. Tab OK. Temperature 15. Dew point 12. Fahrenheit 1020. No 6. Repeating. Zurich. Net report. Zurich at 0120 Zulu. Wind calm. Tab OK. Temperature 11. Dew point 9. Fahrenheit 1021. No 6. Repeating.
and yes, I'm still alive. Whoa. Still alive. So I don't think you guys saw it, but I caught it in a glass and I threw it out the window. because I don't kill. I don't like killing animals. RJ Dakota says being stung enough times, really don't like wasps, glass jar, and release outdoors if it doesn't get you first. So it's okay now. So Matt says usually I can just get them to fly outside their home. They're usually trying to find a way out. Yeah, that's what it wanted to. That's what it wanted. It just didn't know where to go. William Helms, nice to have you here from Florida. So, what else do we have? What else do we have? So. Make sure in front of the camera. If it goes south, we need it recorded. My last moments on the live shortwave show. Gustavo Pinto says, nice to have you here, by the way. When I got back to the hobby a year ago, after 3 decades off, I bought the RTL as the RV3. I got so bad impression of it that it took me away from SDRs. Yeah. You know what? I have a lot of people that what I notice is that they are off of SDRs because what happened is they got a cheap RTL SDR or the SDR V3 and got a bad experience. And they think that SDRs are just crap because of that. So that's why I try to avoid those now. You know, I mean, crazy. Cat Magazine 1976. I'm not going to step on it. I don't want to do that. It's just a little beast that wants to live. Rifleman 336, what's the local emergency number in Quebec? It's 911. But you'll have to call and say, well, okay, well, there's a guy in Montreal, Quebec, Canada that's doing a live show right now. He just is like dying from a wasp bite or a sting. And that's exactly what I think. So Ray Carlisi, 9395, Radio Prague from Czech Republic, English via WRMI. And that's exactly what I often say, Gustavo Pinto, is that if you start the hobby with a bad radio, you're going to stop. And that's not what we want, you know? Rifleman 336. The Ornet is getting a weather report before takeoff. Oh, man. Glenn Zeckman, been nice to know you. Tom DXer, no. The SDR Play V3 is the unit that has spurious signals. Now, that said, okay, I'll be fair. So let's just for the fun of it right now tune. I'm going to tune 2 megahertz. Do I see anything weird here? So not now, but the there's one weird thing about the RSPDX, RSP1A. You know, they have the same basics. They behave in the same way. That's what I noticed. And what happens is that sometimes you get spurious signals from like the medium wave band or some shortwave, but it isn't like the V3. The V3, the RTL is the RV3. If you get a spurious signal, okay, for example, WWCR 13845 is really strong here pretty much all day. If I tune it with my RTL SDR V3, it has an image on 14955. That is always there. So 14955, I see this big peak, very strong signal of WWCR that is in reality on 13845. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's there. It's because the radio, the dongle is kind of crappy at images and stuff like that. The RSPDX, the RSP1A, and so on don't have that effect, but they have another weird effect, which is depending on the local oscillator's frequency at the bottom, the low frequency, it can happen you have images, but they are fixable. That means if you tune a different low frequency and retune the frequency you were listening to, they're gone. They're not there anymore. So it's not the same thing. It can happen. It usually happens below 5 megahertz ish, but it can be fixed by changing the low frequency. And it doesn't happen on the upper band. It's not an image, it's some kind of mixing product with the low frequency and some of the signals. It's kind of weird. So they do have that flaw, but it's not like the V3 where images are there and there's nothing you can do. So we got it. Matt says, a couple of weeks back, my daughter texted me from the basement and there's a centipede in her room. The cat playing with it, but not earning it. The daughter's on the bed protecting herself with a yardstick. You know what, Matt? And it's so funny because, cats know what they can eat or what they should be careful of. It's very interesting because last fall, so here, and I'm going to put it outside now. I have a big box with plants that were outside last summer. And I decided that I wanted to see if it worked to keep it inside for the winter and put it back out. And it actually succeeded to live in the winter. I even had flowers. But the problem is, when you take a box full of earth and plants, what do you bring in your home also? Tons of bugs because they're in there. So last fall, a couple of times, there was these weird bugs that I've never seen before, walking and crawling on the floor. And it's funny because Paul eats flies. I mean, if there's a fly, he goes nuts. He's running all around, and you're hearing crunching the fly, and like, oh, you got it. I'm hearing the crunching sound, But there were these weird bugs, and he was like using his paw and kind of touching it, but he wasn't sure. And you could see that he was like, nah, I'm not sure I want to eat that. You see that they also have their instinct of, that bug looks bizarre. I don't think I'm going to do anything. I'm not going to touch that, I remember one last summer, there was a wasp in my living room. And he was like looking really intense. And I was like, you know what, Paul? You don't want to eat that. Because if it actually stings you while you're eating it, you might not live through the experience, And he looked at it. But at one point when I was trying to, like today, I was like trying to get it to go back out. He touched it. And then he backed off, actually. And I was like, yeah, you're understanding that thing is not a fly and that maybe you shouldn't touch it, eh? Animals kind of know. Matt says, naturally, Dad had to go and rescue them. But it's funny how big adults like us are scared of these tiny little bugs. It's like there's an instinct inside us that's like, no way, man, this is dangerous and I don't want to touch it. So anyways, the wasp is outside and we'll be back. Of course, one of the things that was so funny is I looked at the wasp and I was like, yeah, are you the same one trying to get in the shed in the backyard? Gern Lyle, looks like I just lost $5. It's always the way. Profe Rolando TV from El Salvador. Nice to have you here. Yeah, I saw the glass. I don't know if you saw the wasp was actually on the bottom of the glass. Mark Stevens, beverage refreshment after the big hunt. VT Radio. I would be less afraid of a bat than a wasp, honestly. I've seen bats when I was young, and I mean, they are bigger, but maybe it's just me. But I would be, I'm more of a scaredy cat with a wasp than a bat. It's like rats. I mean, living in a big city like Montreal, rats, we see them from sometimes, And with the confinement, we see a little more rats in the streets than before. And I mean, I see these people going nuts, and I'm like, it's just a rat. I mean, it's just going because it's there anyways. There are millions of rats in Montreal, like there are millions of rats in New York. They live in the sewers. It's life. It's the way things work. And I've never been scared of rats or mouse or anything like that. If I had to deal with a rat or a wasp, I would be easily choosing the rat rather than the wasp. Randall Kluntz, nice to have you here from Chicago. Jane Dagger, tried 3 bloody RTL SDRs cheapies and it really annoyed me. Yeah, it turns off people. Matt says, with SDR, it really used to be a case of getting what you pay for, but SDR Play and AirSpy have really made quality SDR affordable. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. That's the thing that's interesting because, I mean, before these arrived, having a decent software-defined receiver was extremely expensive. Larry Cordy, nice to have you here from New York. KMXZ 1976 says RTL is the RV3 got phantom signals. Had to upgrade the RSP1A. Yeah, absolutely. Jane Dyer, I've seen Paul standing behind Gel many times holding salt and pepper shakers. Matt says, we get Miller Mott's in Colorado, and some years ago are tons. I had a cat who had a kitten during a swarm year, and he got a taste for them then. Always disgusting when he did. Yeah. Cats are usually good for insect control. They're always naturally cautious. Yeah, they are cautious. I mean, they don't eat or don't bug any type of insect. But, but he does learn me. There was a centipede. Last time I saw a centipede here is, I don't know, I think this winter. And he was looking at me, and I noticed that there was something wrong. And he was looking at me because there was some big bug going in the living room. I rather have a couple of things like centipedes and to take care of centipedes or spiders, because if you have spiders, you don't have cockroaches. And I got to tell you one thing. I find it better to have a couple of spiders around than a gazillion cockroaches in your home. That's all. Matt says, I caught the same cat playing with a black widow. Oh, man, no. Had it in its mouth, but wasn't crunching on it. Dropped it on the floor, covered in cat drool. Oh, man. Bob Laporte. Salut de Gatineau. Nice to have you here. How can we reach you? Official shortwave radio at gmail.com. Let's put it here. Official shortwave radio at gmail.com. It's the official email where you can say hi. Dan V. Gilles is the Batman. Mark Stevens. Size 11 shoes are great equalizers for the creepy crawlers. I had a friend over um, last year, and she creeps out on spiders like crazy. And we're inside, and she sees a spider, and she's going nuts. She's like, "There's a spider!" And I take a piece. I took the. What did I do? I was doing barbecue. I remember she freaked out. I was doing barbecue, and I had one of the tools for the barbecue. And I saw the spider, and I was like, "Oh, it got inside. That's all." And I put it near the spider, and the spider starts crawling over the tool, going towards my hand. And at some point, the spider's on my hand, and she's freaking out. And I'm like, "Relax. It just wants to go back wherever it goes to." And it's like crawling, and she's going nuts. And she says, "It's gonna bite you." No, it's not gonna bite me. It's just walking. It just wants to go somewhere. And I go outside next to the balcony ramp, and the spider's going and continues on the ramp. And I'm like, there's a spider. It's going back out. It just wanted help to go back out. It's just like, how can you have spiders over you? And it's like, I'm not scared of spiders. I know they can sting, they can bite, but if you're relaxed, they don't do that. They just want to go back to wherever they were. That's it. It was just so funny. Are we really talking about bugs? Well, there's a type of bug that is a radio bug, huh? The spy bugs. I'm watching a series that is an old series from the BBC, which is the Cold War series on YouTube, and it's fascinating. If you guys want to know the intricate details of the Cold War as it happened, it's really cool. It's made by the BBC. It's very nice. You got all of the Secretary of States and the people all around what happened. You even have Fidel Castro talking and saying how he was like not happy because the Russians in the missile crisis decided to return the missiles, and they didn't even tell him. And it's very well done. It's 24 episodes on YouTube. Check it out. And I've watched it a long time ago. I decided to watch it again because at some point when you're in confinement you need to watch something, and I like history stuff like that. And they were talking about when the Russians decided that there was to be a so England and the United States wanted to meet with Russia because of course, they were the big gun countries after the Second World War and Russia said, "Oh, well, we're meet here. Come here. We have the place for you guys to meet." And of course, Russia had bugged the place like crazy to listen in on every conversation. And look, it's interesting if you like the history, a little bit of history. Look at that, 24 episodes on YouTube, the Cold War. I'm at like episode 7 or 8 now, maybe 7 or 6, 7. It's the Korean War. Really interesting. And it's really, really cool to watch all the things that happened in history. The part about the missile crisis in Cuba is amazing because you got like the Secretary of State of the um, government, the JFK government back then, that clearly says that after all the negotiations and everything, he goes home that weekend and he's sure that he's not going to see another day because nuclear war is going to just blow out full blown, and that's it. He's not convinced that anything good is going to come out of this, and he's going home thinking, you know what, there's not going to be any tomorrow. It's super interesting. Check that out. What do we have? My radio videos. Found a snake in his city backyard today. Small garden snake, but first one I saw in 25 years. Wow. Nice to have you here from San Diego, California. Do you have a lot of radio videos? Roger's on the Crafter's Kitchen got a bat in his house. Believe me, it's a very nerve-wracking. I'm sure it's like a bird. Honestly, if you ever had a bird in your house, it's crazy because the bird like just flies everywhere and just like it's like totally nuts. It's a bird's not gonna hurt you, but it's not a nice thing to live through to have the bird, crashing on the walls and everything because it's going nuts. And I'm sure the bats are the same thing. It's like they're going crazy. They're stuck inside something they shouldn't be in. Glenn Zeckman has, I used to do bees in my hands. Gordon Lyle, I'm glad we don't have big spiders here. Hate to see one of those walking across my floor. Hey, Sheldon Harvey, nice to have you here from Greenfield Park. Got tied up with things here this evening and completely forgot to tune in. No problem. It's okay. You missed the part where I had to actually take a wasp out of my room. And I mean, that's why we're talking about snakes, bats, and insects right now. Oh, man. Our day Dakota says saw a snake last year, was more than a meter long. Tom the Extra, I had a garden snake into my basement once. My cat did the smart thing. He killed it first, then played with it. But there's a lot of, I see when I go for walks in some of the big parks there, that there's, I need to check it out. So we have, so in French, we call them, and I forgot the name. So we have, I forgot the name of it. It's a couleuvre. What's a couleuvre in English? Couleuvre English. Viper. This is a viper. Anyways, it's a very innocent snake that we have here. Very common, probably everywhere. And I mean, when I go to big parks, there are some of these, and I remember I was at a big park called Parc de la Visitation. And there was one, it was all rounded like this with a little head up because it was like maybe it was April. It was still cold, but there was sunshine. So it was trying to get some warmth in the middle of the road. And there was these two old women that just didn't want to go ahead. And I remember I told him, I said, no, that is an innocent snake. It's not going to hurt you. It's just there to, keep warm. And but man, they were going nuts. And I was like, no, there's no danger. These snakes are not dangerous, But there's stuff out there. William Helms, I love how animals are so smart unsuspectedly. Yeah, when I see Paul the cat with the way he deals with the bugs, you see that there's some kind of And that looks weird. I'm not going to touch it, RJ Dakota says plenty of frogs and toads around here have been stung by a centipede in the past year. That's no good either. No, centipedes are actually very bad. You don't want to be stung by a centipede or anything. And you don't want to crush it in your home because apparently it smells like really bad. Tom the Xer. Bees don't bother me at all. Most bugs don't either, but I hate centipedes and millipedes. They creep me out. Yeah, they have their way of looking bad. That's for sure. That's for sure. What else do we have? It's like wasps. I mean, when we get into here, because of the winter, the wasps, so the way it works is that the queens, that's what I'm having in my shed in the backyard. The queen is trying to make a nest for the summer. And what happens is that in the wintertime, they all die, except the queens that go hide in some spaces to stay for the next year. The problem is, in August and September, it gets really annoying because there's wasps everywhere. And when I went Perry Island, the expedition once for Shortwave, there was a couple with children, and they were going crazy. There was wasps over. Why? Because they had food, and wasps do not they're not like bees. Bees are going to flowers, and they make honey. Wasps are carnivores. They eat meat. They eat other insects. That's why we have fewer insects when there's wasps. And that's why I don't want to kill wasps, because they help control the insects. But when you have food, they want to be on your food. That's what they want. They want the food. They don't care about you. They want your food. So I was showing them so they were there, and I was at Perry Island. And of course, I did have a lot of wasps come over, but I did my trick. There's a trick you can do. If you have a lot of wasps around you, take anything like a fruit juice, no vodka, no vodka, but a fruit juice, or take some of your food and put it 3 or 4, 5 feet away on the ground. And you won't have any wasps anymore. They're all going to be there rather than at your place. And you'll be okay. And that's what I did. So I went over to their table because they were going nuts. And I said, here's the trick. And you'll know the trick for next year. I had a fruit juice, and I just took it. I said, look, I went over a little further away. I poured some on the grass. And I came back, and I just told him one thing. I said, they're going to go there. Don't go there. Okay? Because they're all going to be there now. So just avoid that area. And you know what? One of the women came to me after maybe an hour and a half, and she said, thank you so much. We were having a bad time because of that. And your trick, they're all in the grass at that area. And it's like, yeah, because they're eating. They want to eat something. Put food, put anything, but put it away from you. They're all going to go there instead of being at your place. Yeah, bees are important. Like wasps are important also. I mean, they kill. There was a girl once. I remember she was talking about, oh, wasps, they don't do anything. They do something. If there were no wasps, we would be invaded by a million other types of bugs, because the wasps eat those and bring them to their nest for their little ones to eat and feast on. Take care, Jane Dagger. It was nice to have you on board, as usual. Garden Lyle, is it me, or does it seem like there are less and less new model shortwave coming out every year? Lots of transceivers, but not We have to face the fact. So it started with the desktop receivers, Gordon. We have to face the fact that less tabletop shortwaves, and that is showing that not as many people are buying big gun shortwaves. And you know what, Texan, with the 330, 990, H501 did say they were the last high-end receivers they would ever make. Texan has a big market there. It has the Asian market, which is still very, very big on shortwave radio. But you know what? That market doesn't want to pay high prices for shortwave radio. So what we're going to have as time goes by, I think we're going to have less and less offering of any shortwave receivers. When I started this channel, there was a lot of new shortwave radios coming out. Degen, Texan, Redson, all of these companies were making tons of shortwave. But look at 2020, 2019. Let's say before COVID-19. There's not that many new shortwave radios coming out. There's not a lot of new models. You know what? I look at eBay and all I see is the good old models that are proven to be good and performance is nice. That's what we see. We don't see nothing new. And I think that is showing that you know what? We're in a dying market of shortwave radios a little bit. Unfortunately. Oh yeah, RGA Dakota. Raccoons and birds in the attic, absolutely. Absolutely. K6YYL Kimberly, the Wasp Show Part 1. Oh man. What else do we have? Let's go down. Shannon Harvey. So a couleuvre is a garter snake. Garter snake. Garter snake. Huh. So those are pretty they're there's no problem with those. Gardeners. Garter man. Garter. I don't know why I want to say gardener. Garter snake. Do I pronounce it well? Garter snake. Huh. Gern Lyle, we're only 1 month away from the longest day of the year already. That's crazy, but shortwave higher frequencies will be good until fall. It's been interesting though, because the frequencies has been pretty good in general in the evening, a little better than I would say the average. I remember 1 year of the minimum solar activity we have right now that even WRMI frequencies were not propagating well up to Montreal. I was like, man, this is bad. So there's something in the air. There's something in the air. We're still at minimum, but there's something in the air. I can tell you that. And it's crazy when you think about it. We're 1 month away from the longest day of the year already. Man. Welcome to the official insect channel. Today, I'm going to show you how to catch a killer hornet in your hands and not be stung. And I'm sure a lot of people want to watch that. There are going to be millions of people watching that. And you'll see me scared as hell. But if I make $1 million, might be worth it. Shelly says the discussion is almost creepier than the alien discussions. Rob says, despite the fear they sometimes evoke, wasps are extremely beneficial to humans. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Official Insectopedia channel. Oh, man. Hey, Green. It's when I hear Paul crunching on a fly. It's like crunch, crunch, crunch. It's like, okay, that doesn't sound right. But anyways, what do you want me to do? Rob says wasps also play a vital role in protecting gardens, farm crops, and so on. Absolutely, absolutely. LSW UK, nice to have you on board. Are you proficient in Morse code? If not, have you ever tried to learn it? So my Morse code knowledge is not super good. You know what? I unintentionally learned it, and what I mean by that is over time. So because of part of my shortwave radio hobby time was there was nothing out there to decode Morse code except your brain. Sometimes when there was Morse code, I would so I would sometimes um, sit down and try to figure out what I just heard, and I mean, in my brain, the Morse code chart is there. So, did da for A, da dot 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 for B, da dit for C, and so on. It's in my brain. It is there. The chart is existing in there. I have pretty much every letter of the alphabet and the numbers figure out in my brain in Morse code. The only thing is, it has not practiced enough. So my brain on Morse code is like a 286 computers from 1984. It needs time to process and figure out, oh, you just sent CQ. Well, not, CQ is so obvious. Then when I hear CQ on the handbands, it's immediate. But that's kind of a reflex. It's not thinking of the letters. But that's pretty much it. It's my brain on Morse code is a 286 computer from 1985. That means if you're doing it fast, forget it. Forget it. A great example, last night on 40 meters, there was two guys sending Morse code at a very slow pace. It was on 7120 or 7115. It was, and it was very, very slow. It was so slow, in fact, that I amazed myself being capable of almost in live jotting down each letter. And I remember because last night I said, I should listen to this and write down each letter for their conversation to try to make out whatever they're saying, because it was very, very slow. So I do have just enough to kind of make it out. But if you do it in more than 10 words per minute, forget it. My brain, it just freezes. It's like, because Morse code is like a language. A language is not something, I always say to people that tell me, oh, you speak English, you listen to English, so it's like it translates, and it doesn't translate. In my brain, English is like French. There's no translation going on. My brain knows what you just said and what I just read is, I know what it means. Like in French, you don't think about the language. It just happens. Morse code, I've not reached that level. In Morse code, my level is I need to still think about it. Where somebody that is always doing Morse code, it's like a language. There's no more thinking. It's like, oh, he just said that. That's where I am. I'm in the middle. I'm not at zero, but I'm not capable of a faster rate Morse code. Garnet Lyle, my newest radio is the ICOM 8600 and RSPDX. The rest are ones I purchased in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Question for you, just out of curiosity. If you had to compare the RSPDX and the 8600, and let's take apart the fact that the 8600 has some digital modes and stuff like that, on the basics of reception, what would you give if you had to? So let's, 1 being bad, 10 being the best, and you just listen to the same signals on the 8600 and the RSPDX. How would you rate both radios? Just out of curiosity. So I'll do that. I'll answer that question also with my personal experience, and it's the ICOM ICR 8500 that I have right here. Okay. If I had to choose and give it 1 to 10 scale, my 8500 on average would have 9 out of 10 in its rating. My RSPDX would have an 8 out of 10. It's almost as good. There's a few things that I see it's better on the 8500, but it's darn close. Yeah, Arthur Helicrafter. I don't think ICOM will ever make any other receivers after the ICOM 8600. Mike Thornton, nice to have you here. WC0L in Kansas. That's an interesting question. James Farley says, do you think solar minimum has to do with shortwave radio cells? You know, one of the things that I thought about when over the years, I always wanted to try to trace, did shortwave radio stations leave shortwave bands more during solar minimum than solar maximum? And I think that's a fair question to ask ourselves. I know that a lot of stations that left, so, apart from the fact that a lot's just left because of money issues and so on, if you look at, let's say a station left shortwave because it didn't have enough correspondence. One of the things that I always feared somehow was that stations were leaving shortwave at solar minimum because they were sometimes more difficult to listen to. And let's be fair, a lot of stations don't choose well their frequencies also at the same time. And some of them had outdated, transmitter sites. But it did came to mind. I did one time. That question is nice because I did think one time, you know what? Solar minimum hurts shortwave because if stations are not heard as well because of solar minimum, well, they're just going away and they're like, what the hell? This thing doesn't work. And nobody listens. So it's a fair question. And I'm not sure of the answer totally. Honestly, I'm not sure. Because one part of the other, another question we could ask ourselves, James, is how many people, how many shortwave listener stopped the hobby because of noise around them? Because let's face it, noise from 1950 to today steadily got higher and higher and higher, which means even if you keep a certain amount of stations, even let's say that in 1950 there were 100 stations, let's say that today there were 100 stations, Today, because of our noise level, the amount of stations people would hear is still less than 1950 because the noise around us has increased a lot. So that's also something I was, how many stations left because there was no audience? Because there was too much noise. It's a very complex thing here. And these are really good questions. And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But it is a good question. Gustavo Pinto, maybe we'll see a portable with SDR, speaker, whip antenna, and buttons. Possible. Michael Netz. Yeah, it's going to happen at some point, I would guess. Hardest Crafter's Kitchen, Radio New Zealand, very strong, 13840. Let's check it out here. 13840. Radio New Zealand is really good. Look at that, guys.
And I guess in a similar vein to that, the nine in sort of 2017, 2019, we're digging around for a cold case to look at. And there are
Radio New Zealand is not bad at all on 13840 right now. Not bad at all. Rick Satter, I want to buy a shortwave radio. What radio can I start with? If you want a portable radio, find yourself an XH Data D808. XH Data D808. You're going to be happy. It's a great radio. Yes, Rob, it will continue its job as nature intended. For sure. RJ Dakota has got it. XH Data D808. Everybody's happy with that one. Hey, Dr. Sisop, nice to have you on board. WTWW on 5085. Usually on Wednesdays, they have the Ham Nation show. Gern Lyle, my 8600 is a solid 9.5 on shortwave. My DX is about 8. So they're not that far away. 8600 is real sensitive, has good selectivity, handles strong signals very well, and no ghost signals. The DX is right under it. But they're not far apart. If we had to be fair, like I'm fair with my ICOM 8500. They're really not that far off. And look at the price difference. Honestly, they're really not that far off. That's what's killing the desktop market. The fact that for a fraction of the price, you are getting amazing performance. Yarabamba. I read a market report of shortwave radios May 2020 that forecast a healthy growth. Let's put it in perspective, because one thing that we see is that there's an increase in sales of radios right now, and it's due to the COVID-19 happening. So there could be a sell or a growth of the market of shortwave due to the fact that people buy more radios, and that could impact. That's for sure. Dr. Sisab, the Texan PL990, nope, not yet. There is someone that actually asked Anonco, which is the major seller on eBay of Texan devices, Texan radios. And he was mentioning that the sale of Texan devices or Texan radios is delayed at least in the fall. And there's no real official news of anything that has to do with these radios. So the ones that are sold right now, it's very important. The ones that are sold right now are the pre-production models, and hopefully maybe this fall we could see the first production models. So let's cross our fingers. RGA Dakota says it is indeed a very good question. Noise from inside a house always drives me away outside in the work shed. Mark Thornton says I increased my CW speed by simply listening to faster Morse than I could copy. I eventually could start copying more and more. And yeah, it's like a language, honestly. Gordon Lyle says both are closed because I'm in a low noise environment. Cool. Keegan, 13840, reading New Zealand International, S3 out of S9 with some noise fading at times. RJ Dakota, will there be a WASP show part 2? Now Jill will deal with not just one wasp, a whole a whole family of wasps. The wasp net is going to be here. Javen Robert Milligan, I thought Texan was supposed to come out with new portable yeah, that's the thing. It's because COVID-19 stopped production. There's the Texan PL 330, 990, and the H501. 3 receivers are supposed to come out, but they're still not there. Oh, interesting. Gordon Lyle says the RSPDX with SDR Uno has a better sync detector than the 8600. Huh. Interesting. That's interesting. It is interesting to see that these low end, it's not low end, these low priced devices are kicking the butt of really expensive radios. Yeah, RGA Dakota, there's 3 receivers. The PL330 is to be the successor to the PL310 ET or PL380, and it will have single sideband. Then the PL990 is to be the successor to the PL880 with much more devices, much more possibilities, including MP3 recording on SD card, including all sorts of new and improved technologies, apparently. And the H501, which has 2 speakers, like a stereo boombox, if you want, for shortwave. It's going to be interesting to see pricing when the real ones come out. And Onco is, if you want to know the real truth about when they are out, you have to check. I think the only seller we can trust on eBay and anywhere, if I have to buy a radio, a Texan radio or a radio from China, Anonco is probably the most trusted source on eBay. Anonco is the seller. I purchased almost every Texan receiver I got from Anonco. And this is important to understand that he's the one that knows. If you see anything else around it, don't trust. If Anonco doesn't have a PL330 or PL990 or H501, don't buy anywhere else. Because if he doesn't have them, they're not available. And that's it. That's it. Radio Itim. Yes, it is live. Or maybe it's another dimension and we're in some kind of radio warp. Gordon Lyle, I purchased the 8600 because I wanted a new tabletop because that's what I like. And that's perfect. If I had a lot of money to spend, I would probably get one just because I want to see one. I want to have one. And that's fine. There's so many people out there. So many people out there that bash others because they bought this or that. Or it's like, you know what? You buy what you want. You want to have that. You want to have that. Gordon says at 53 will be my last big purchase of a radio. So with all my radios now, I'm all set until the end. You know what, Gordon? When you're 60, we're going to talk about that. I'll bring back that phrase, and you'll see you have purchased 3 or 4 other big, expensive radios. I understand what you're saying, but you know what? Man, life is life. Jim and Robert Milligan been thinking of buying an MLA 30 loop antenna. You live in a noisy environment? That's the first thing you gotta check out. Okay? Do you live in a noisy environment? If you do, that MLA 30 is going to help you. If you live in a low noise environment and you got 200 feet of wire in the forest, you're going to waste your money. That's the down to earth thing about that antenna. And Anonco. He's the one that's almost got direct link to Texan, actually. Sergio Cordero, buenas noches. Do you think other shortwave radio stations could be created in the future? Absolutely. I mean, shortwave is a medium that might. One thing you got to understand is that shortwave is a medium that can reach other countries, can reach the world. You know what? Depending on what happens in the world, on what happens in different countries, look at Africa. There's a lot of those stations that are kind of clandestine stations, and they appear all the time. And they are created with the fact that, you know what, we want to say something, and there's a place where we can say it that is not, or the internet is not the place to give your own opinion necessarily, because it can be blocked, it can be removed. Shortwave radio, it's not going to be removed. It's shortwave radio. It's radio. It doesn't have boundaries. It doesn't have an on-off switch. It could be jammed, but that's it, Actually, jamming is the best way to understand that shortwave is actually an amazingly good medium to say what you want to say. Because if a country spends money to jam you, that's because you've just found a really cool way of giving your own opinion about world events, about what you think about something. And so shortwave is not dead. It's not going to be dead in 50 years from now. It's not going to be dead in 100 years from now. I can tell you there's going to be stuff on shortwave 100 years from now. It might be very specific to an area, to a way of thinking, a way of doing things. And then again, you never know. You never know, because what could change is world events. What brought out shortwave and made its glory days was the Cold War. But you never know. A Cold War could still exist in the future in a different way. And then giving your own opinion on the internet and stuff cannot be a way of doing it anymore. What that's going to happen? Somebody out there is going to say, hey, there's this thing called shortwave. You're going to transmit your ideas, what you think, what you have to say. It's going to be on the radio, and some people with radio is going to listen to it. And nobody going to block that. And I think shortwave is unique in that fashion, in that way of being, is that you can voice your mind. And you know what? Apart from jamming, if I want to say something against the United States, I could say it on the internet, but if for some reason I can't say it anymore, you put a big gun station on shortwave and you say, hey, hi, the US. I don't. But, if you want to say something, you can say it. LSW UK, does the MLA 30 need to be grounded? Nope. If not, how do you remove static buildup It's a very small loop. It's not like a long wire. It's a very small loop. So the static, and because it's an active antenna that has electronics, it's not building up static like a regular long wire, for example. And it's so small that and that it doesn't really have much of a buildup. Hey, Gordon, if you want to do it, go get that review of the 8600 you talked about, and post the link of that video if you want, or post the link to your channel. I'll be happy. Let me just do something here. Hey, Gordon, you're a moderator. It's added. Woohoo! Big winner tonight, Gordon Lyle, moderator. And so you can remove the idiots that come here. And now post the link to your channel. I'll be happy to share. Like I said, there's no competition here. I did not have much time to do that, JRDX. Watch the live streams and stuff. I did get the links and everything. I did watch a little bit, but I mean, oh man, I am the most. With all they have to do in life, I am the most the guy that is like really, really have very little time for a lot of stuff. Thanks, Matt, for the sharing of the Anonco link directly. James Farley, I have my R5000 hooked up to a full range stereo speaker, full bass response, just like the old console radios from the 50s. Jim and Robert Milligan, I heard a while back that Radio Canada International broadcasted online programs on other international stations. One the frequency 7210, I think. So Radio Canada exists online at RCI Net, but there in Europe, there's a rebroadcast of a couple of the relays over there. Gordon Lyle says, Joe, if I make it to 60, we can have a drink and I'll show you the radios I said I wouldn't get. Oh, we got to do that. Promise. We'll do that for sure. That'd be cool. We'll do a live show from your place saying, so in 2020, Gordon said that he purchased his last big gun receiver, the 8600. Today, he's got the 8700. He's got the RPAC 4460, which is the new big guns radio from Pakistan or something. And we'll do a live show, have a drink, and I'll say, I told you so. I told you so. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. Artist Ali Crafter's Kitchen. Now I want to start watching Cold War BBC doc. I own a piece of the Berlin Wall. You have to. It's an amazing documentary. You know, after this show, I'm going to be there. I'm going to start. I'm going to continue watching. I was yesterday. It's so funny because I played Call of Duty on my PC, which as a Call of Duty World War II, which is kind of a recreation in a video game. I started watching that and playing that, and it was like, okay, I'm in World War II in my game and watching the documentary up there. But watch that. It's very, very, very interesting. And there are tidbits of stuff we didn't know about that today they can actually talk about. And you're like, wow, okay. There's a lot of, there was a lot of, all of that. There was a lot of, it's like World War II, there was a lot of decisions and things that we did right. But man, there were some things that it's just damn luck. You were just lucky to be there, Yarabamba, do you realize that Wednesday nights and Friday afternoons, Montreal is the world capital of shortwave? Absolutely. Absolutely. World capital of shortwave. I'm happy to be there. Hey, Gaëtan Bellil, bonne soirée. Fais attention à toi. Javen Robert Milligan, I found out that Spectres of Shortwave by Amanda Don Christie saw a preview. Do you know where to find the full film? It's not online. They did it was by accident. They're accidentally she was doing a test and accidentally she put the full film online, but it's not available yet, and there's still going to be some airings available. But if it ever goes online, it's an amazingly nice, an amazingly well done piece of history of Radio Canada International and the Sackville transmitter site for sure. And for those that have not seen it, because that's been done what 2-3 years ago, man, it's almost 3 years now. Amanda Don Christie was on my channel, and I actually had the pleasure and was happy and to have her and ask her the questions about her film and the CIDX barbecue in 2017. Wait, 2018, 19. 2018? I'm trying to find out. But it was really cool, and she talked about it, and it was really, really nice. Ruffleman 336, as far as DR Play is concerned, can you do filtering of audio like DSP filtering, NB, noise blanker, notch filter, and such? Yes. It's all in SDR Uno, by the way. You have noise blanking there. There's a notch filter, auto notch for the tones and stuff. You can do a lot in the software here. And there are other softwares that you can actually do. All of that. Absolutely. One thing that I would say that we mentioned earlier, I saw it in the comments and I forgot to talk about it because I wanted to do a little comment. The AirSpy HF Plus Discovery. One of the things I find interesting about it is the fact that the firmware can be upgraded. It's true that it would be nice if they did a SDR Play device that had firmware upgrades. I gotta say, that would be nice for sure. RJ Dakota, take care, my friend. It was nice to have you on board. And you know what, guys? We've been on for what, 3 hours now? Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. It was a lot of fun. I saved a wasp, tried to not kill myself, and hope you enjoyed it. You know what, guys? I don't do it much, but if you like what I do, you know what? You can help me out with PayPal donations. It's been a while since I asked for anything, and if you wish to help out, it's always welcome. And I'll buy some radio stuff with it that maybe we'll be testing and trying out. It was nice to have you here. 3 hours on a Wednesday night was kind of cool. Javen Robert Milligan, I am a big fan of number stations. I actually, when I have the time, I go to the Preom website where you have all the lists. It's a fascinating side of our hobby. I mean, let's face it. Who does not want to be in the middle of some, conspiracy of some spy, some James Bond style life? I mean, it sometimes comes to me when I'm listening to spy stations and thinking, you know what? We're in the middle of listening to signals, mysterious coded signals for some spy somewhere in the world that has some mission to do, some stealing of some, I don't know. It could be a Chinese spy, it could be anything. It's we're in the middle of that war. We listen to these signals. We're actually capable of understanding that, you know what, I'm listening to something that some spy somewhere is listening to and doing whatever. We're in the middle of all of these world events, and shortwave is cool for that. All the mysterious stuff. All the mysterious stuff. You know? Hey guys, time does fly. I mean, 3 hours. I didn't see that go through, and it's always nice to have you on board. Mission Impossible, absolutely. Take care, my friends. Stay safe. It's always a great pleasure to be here. And you know what? We'll see each other hopefully on Friday, 20 hours UTC, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Bye, my friends. Love you all. Okay?